The EU has tended to favour more precautionary policies when it comes to technology compared to the UK and the US. Now with AI set to affect industries from healthcare to education to law enforcement, the EU are looking for their own Oppenheimers to regulate AI. But how does this compare to the UK? This is a short guide to exactly that. Part 1. The EU Tiered Risk System. The EU framework defines 4 levels of risk for AI systems: minimal risk, limited risk, high risk, and unacceptable risk, which effectively means bans. The minimal or no risk category are applications like spam filters or AI-enabled video games, both of which don't cause any real risk to society. The limited risk category focuses more on transparency. In simpler terms, people will need to know when they're interacting with an AI system. So any company in this category will have to comply with watermarking requirements. A good example of this is generative AI content from chatbots, or audio and video content that could be used to make deepfakes. The high-risk category corresponds to applications that could cause damage to important societal infrastructure, like education, healthcare, transport, or the administration of democratic processes. This includes critical infrastructure, education, employment, law enforcement, and democratic processes. To ensure that companies comply with this, they'll need to undergo conformity assessments, formally register and sign a declaration before their product can be allowed on the market. And then there are the unacceptable risks, which effectively means, as we mentioned earlier, that they're banned. Just to name 5 out of the 8, subliminal, manipulative, or deceptive techniques to distort behaviour and affect informed decision-making, exploiting vulnerabilities related to age, disability, or socioeconomic circumstance, biometric categorization systems that gather data on people's bodies and behaviours, social scoring, meaning evaluating or classifying individuals or groups based on social behaviour, like we currently see in countries like China, and compiling facial recognition databases from the internet or CCTV footage. But what about general-purpose AI models like GPT, Sora, or DALL-E? So they're not categorized as high risk, as some of you may have thought, but there is some regulation. All providers of these models must, for example, draw up technical documentation, draw up information and documentation to supply the downstream providers, establish a policy to respect the copyright directive, and publish a sufficiently detailed summary about the content used for training the GPAI model. So when is this all going to happen? The Act is expected to become law by May or June and will be implemented in stages rather than all at once. For example, after 6 months, countries will be required to ban prohibited AI systems. After a year, rules for general-purpose AI systems will start applying, and after 2 years, the whole AI Act will be enforceable. But how, you might be asking, does this compare to the UK? The UK has favoured what some have called an innovation before regulation approach. As they say on the AI Safety Institute webpage, the Institute is not a regulator and will not determine government regulation. It will collaborate with existing organisations within government, academia, civil society and the private sector to avoid duplication, ensuring that activity is both informing and complementing the UK's regulatory approach to AI, as set out in the AI Regulation White Paper. Also listed on the webpage are its 3 main functions: develop and conduct evaluations on advanced AI systems, looking at safety, security, and assessment of their societal impacts, drive foundational AI safety research, facilitate information exchange between the Institute and other national and international actors, such as policymakers, international partners, private companies, academia, civil society, and the broader public.
We feel very strongly we have a very agile, adaptive, and sophisticated approach in this country to be an attractive place for those who want to come and build AI to come and do it.
If it isn't clear already, the UK aims to regulate the use, not the technology. As they say in the white paper, we will not assign rules or risk levels to entire sectors or technologies. Instead, we will regulate based on the outcomes AI is likely to generate in particular applications. This is in contrast to the EU, who are actually looking to regulate entire industries. But how much money do both governing bodies have to actually do this? The UK government has been criticised for only putting 100 million into research and only 10 million into enforcement, but when compared to the EU, this really doesn't look that bad. Currently, the European Union has only got 35 million euros to play with, making people rightly question whether such a budget could actually be that effective in actually enforcing such a change. This has been Knowledge Brief. Thanks for watching.